So within this video, I'm gonna review the phone which I recently found, which is called the Fairphone. So Fairphone is actually a brand from the Netherlands, and they're making eco-friendly, kind of like a modular option phones, and that kind of grabbed my interest. So Fairphone is actually a phone which with a pretty decent display, so let's dig into it. Alright, let's open it. The phone, and the thing is that inside the box there is nothing else, so they don't provide a cable, they don't provide a charger, so well that kind of makes sense. All the companies are trying to be ecological, so yeah, I think that's a good direction. So let's check it out. Okay, I took the option which is the Fairphone Gen 6 Forest Green with 8 GB of RAM and 250 GB of storage. I think the quality of it, it's pretty decent. It feels like it's made from like a plastic, which is like a matte plastic, which is pretty decent design. You know, you can see it here as well. So what took me kind of in is that the spec of this phone, because when you look at the display, we have a 6.31-inch display, which I'm kind of very positive about it, because the main thing is that this is a full HD LTPO OLED display with a 11,016 by 2484 resolution, 431 ppi, which is cool because I am in general a fan of phones which are having slightly lower display than the 6.7, 6.67, etc. I can see on the back there are actually screws here. So that's something which, you know, I'm gonna cover in a second. When it comes to the display, because that's, you know, what I think the very important of it is that it has a 120 Hz refresh rate, PVM and DC dimming. It has a 1400 nits brightness, so that means it should be pretty visible during the normal daylight and the sunlight. On the actual display, we have the Gorilla Glass 7E 0.7mm with a full laminated oleophobic coating, and it has a 20:9 aspect ratio. So when it comes to the cameras, it has a 50 megapixel main camera Sony Lithia 700C sensor with the quad pixel up to 10 times digital zoom, and we have the ultra wide camera which is 13 megapixel, which is actually having the autofocus macro mode and also the EIS, which is the electronic image stabilization. On the front, we have a selfie camera with a 32 megapixel Samsung KDY-AF sensor, and obviously display can be used as a flash. So when it comes to the video, it supports recording up to 4K, which I think it's a pretty decent standard, so no 8K, and you know, with that, I think that's decent standard for kind of all the recording. It runs the Android 15, and it says it will get the updates until 2033, which, yeah, it gives a lot of years of updates, which I think it's a very positive for the phone. So let's talk some processor. So I can see that this is running the Snapdragon 7S Gen 3, which is a very good processor for, you know, 6.3-inch phone, and obviously it kind of categorizes more into like a flagship option. The prime core can go up to 2.5 gigahertz, which I think it's a decent speed for general usage and even gaming. It has the Adreno GPU and 8 GB of RAM. So the positive thing about it is that this is a model of 256 GB, but it has expandable storage. So that means you can actually add the SD card up to 2 terabytes to it, which I very much like in those kind of like a mid-range slash almost flagship phones, because this makes it a very kind of like a long-term phone, especially that if you're recording 4K, that takes a lot of storage. So when it comes to the sensors, it has a fingerprint sensor which is built into the power, which is something which, you know, I do prefer, like in Samsung's, that it's actually right here. I got used to it so much and I kind of like, I don't like it. I had it in my Xiaomi and it's something which I'm not a big fan of, but I understand it's probably easier to put it here on the side than to put it on the top. So this makes sense as NFC as well. So yeah, the kind of basics. And I can see that also has this kind of an easy switch. So if you want to switch to a silent mode, you can just take it down and now it goes silent, and now up to turn on the volume, to turn on the sounds again. And obviously on the other side we have the volume down and volume up. So when it comes to the battery, this is something which I'm so positive about, because it is a 4400 mAh battery, which I often say it's kind of lower than the standards I like. I do like 5000 mAh battery phones, but you see those screws on the back? They do it modular, so that means you can unscrew it yourself. There is a tutorial on their website, and you can actually buy the battery at their website and swap it yourself with ease. So it's kind of like a very easy modular option for everyone. So thanks to it, if your battery is kind of running low, you're thinking it doesn't have the nice kind of proper option, like it doesn't hold the whole day or 2 days anymore, then you can swap it by yourself. And I think that's a very positive thing. When it comes to the rating, it has an IP55 rating, which kind of makes it, you know, cover the rain and kind of like splashes, obviously. So about the modularity of this phone, they say that like they haven't glued the parts. That means the user can actually swap, I think, like 12 parts of this phone by themselves and replace it with ease. So if one of you is a tinkerer, you want the phone that is, you know, easy to fix by yourself, then it feels like a very good choice. And the last one, when it comes to the kind of a build of it, it has 193 grams, so it's pretty light in the hands. Alright, so now we're gonna check out the cameras, and that's something which I wanted to test out to see how it works. So let's take it on a side, and obviously let's take my favorite plant. Let's turn on the phone and check the cameras. Okay, so we're starting with the kind of a photo mode, which is the normal, I would call it, mode. This is 1x. 0.6, that's decent. The macro, this is a super macro mode. Let's do the stones. Ooh, the super macro is decent. Now compared to the 1x. Yeah, 1x doesn't really get it, right? And it also on 1x, it tells me to go into super macro. Super macro is amazing. I'm gonna grab one more. Wow, this is so cool. Okay, macro is amazing. So in general, the one photo, it's great. I can see HDR, it's on right here. So it's pretty cool. 2x zoom, decent as well. So let's check the portrait mode. So I can see it's blurring the background, which is nice. Ooh, okay, I can set the timer and stuff like that. Okay, so it's kind of available quickly here. That's cool. All right, so then you have the option for like Pro, so you can set all the parameters by yourself. You have a panorama. You have a super night as well, so that means it'll take the brighter option. Also use AI for it. That's pretty cool. So obviously let's try the selfie. Let's see the selfie camera. Ooh, the selfie is decent. It's actually very good quality. And wider. Nice one, I like it. No, portrait is decent. Nice. Alright, so let's check the video. So I can see there's also a time-lapse, video, slow-mo, and motion. So let's check it out in a second. So video, it is nice, looks definitely decent. This is not like a very well lit area because obviously I'm using softbox and everything, but it's decent. How about 2x? Yeah, it's still very crispy. That's very nice. Alright, so this was in the 4K. Now let's check the... So 4K you can go up to 30 FPS, you cannot go 60 FPS. With 1080p you can go up to 60 FPS. So now 30 FPS on 1080p, 2x zoom, without the zoom. That's decent. Okay, the feeling of it is pretty cool. Let's try the portrait and let's see how high we can go. So with the portrait, with the selfie camera, we can go up to 2K. So let's try obviously the 2K and I can see 30 frames per second. That is nice. Okay, the quality of it, it's pretty decent. I do like it. And now the 1080p. Okay, that's alright. 1080p is pretty good too with 30 frames per second. I like it. I think this is definitely looking pretty nice. So it also has a time-lapse, slow-mo, and the motion. So slow-mo has 120 frames per second, which is decent. And there's some motion as well. So let's see that motion. Okay, so it's a motion photo, I assume. Okay, so it will grab a picture even if it's in motion. Okay, so it's not like a motion photo, but actually grabbing the photo of something which is in motion. That is decent, that's actually very decent. So because we live in a world of distractions, I can see that Fairphone actually did something which is pretty cool. So that button, which I mentioned to you about kind of, muting it, it doesn't only do that. It also has this special space from Fairphone, which if you slide it down, it will take you to a simple kind of distraction-less mode, which has your essentials. And that's literally just, your Chrome, camera, maps, etc. Or you can set it up what kind of apps that you want to go, what's your next moments, are you about essential, balance or spring. I can do, for example, balance, and we'll slightly change the background, but we'll keep it on the simplicity, and I like it. There are a lot of people who are looking into, even this kind of disconnecting themselves slightly from the phones while still having them. And like we even have special themes for it on the Android, right? So like to kind of put it on the minimalistic mode. So I like it that you can just do it with a flip of a button and then, come back to the normal mode if you like it. That is a very interesting thing. So before I go to the price, so there are actually two versions of this phone, and this is a very interesting thing. So the price of this phone, which is 256 gig version of 8 gig of RAM, it's 599 euros. But you can also grab another version of this 6th gen version for 649 euros. And what this version will do, it will de-Google it. Yeah, you heard it right. They sell a version without a Google options built in. So pure OS. So you don't have to worry if you're maybe some privacy kind of a freak, or you like to keep it private without sharing too much information with Google, then you can actually buy it de-Googled. Interesting, right? Because there are not many phones which actually do offer their kind of OS already de-Googled with the a pure OS. So I think that's a very interesting kind of thing that the Fairphone's trying to do. What do you think about this? Yay or nay? I think it's a pretty decent phone for 600 euros. It's a well designed. I can see it's made from the recycled material, and the design of it's pretty sleek. It's pretty cool. So I think that's something which I think everyone who's looking into being sustainable, eco-friendly, an option to be able to swap the batteries, add extendable storage, and at the same time with ease put it on like a very essential mode, distraction less, then I'm gonna say Fairphone, well done. I think I very much like it. So, well, this is not paid partnership in any way, so I just left the link if you want to learn more in the description of this video, so just check it out. And remember, if you like my videos, just hit that like and subscribe so you're up to date with everything what's going on, and see you in the next video. Take care!
MadTechTalk, tech so fly, breaking down gear, let's amplify. Sub like, don't miss a thing. Tech reviews with a little bling. We out for now, but stay tuned. More fire tech is dropping soon.